One of the perks of this job is that sometimes you get into a position where you get to chat with Dale Steyn, ask him questions on another couple of greats like Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli. And that's what we're going to do today on our chat here. We'll pick Dale Steyn's brains and ask him specifically how he would bowl to Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli and who he thinks is the more difficult batsman to get out. Dale, welcome. Nice to have you on board. And it's interesting actually when you're focusing on these two batsmen and Dale Steyn, the bowler running in, because they're quite the opposites, aren't they? And extremely opposite in their trigger movement, as in their approach before they face the ball. Kane Williamson loves to go back in his crease, that back foot movement. And then, if forced to come forward, he comes forward, whereas Virat Kohli is always looking to advance, go down the pitch. So tell us about your plans as you ran in and knowing their style of play. Say to Virat Kohli, he had a great start against you in South Africa, got 100 in the first innings and 90 in the second. He's got out to you once in 8 innings, whereas Kane Williamson has been out, I think, 3 in 12. So tell us about Virat Kohli with that trigger movement, wanting to get forward.
I felt like with Virat, he always wanted to get onto the front foot. He wanted to assert himself. I think growing up in India, he's used to the wickets being probably a little bit flatter, the ball not bouncing as much. So he's really looking to get forward and dominate you, especially down the ground, because he plays so well with that straight bat. He's got one of the best cover drives I've ever seen. And in the same hand, he does play really well off the back foot, and that's a part of the game that he's actually added on since being younger. Because international cricket is all about, when you see a guy step up into international cricket, the first thing you do is, okay, test him on the short ball. That's it. Can he handle the short ball? And Virat had to quickly learn how to do that, because I think in a place like India, being young, no one ever really rushed it. He was just so much better than all the other batters that were around him, especially in his age group. And then stepped up into international cricket. Maybe in the beginning had a couple problems with it, probably not used to facing guys around the 145, 150 mark, but then his mental strength took over. And he has certainly come out and said it himself, how much he relished playing against guys like Mitchell Johnson, the Brett Lees, whoever it is, Morne Morkel, and more recently Rabada, Archer, these kind of guys, even myself in those days. But a kind of guy that wants to get onto the front foot and show and look you in the eye, like he wants to meet you halfway down the track and say, I'm here for the battle. And when you look at somebody like Kane, he's happy to hang back, bats deep in his crease, waits for the ball to get you. I know that when I let the ball go to somebody like Virat, I can feel it. I can feel him hitting the ball really soon. When I let it go to Kane, it feels like I'm bowling 30 yards because the ball just takes so long to get to him, and he hits it so late under his eyes. Looks to run the ball down a third man a lot early in his batting, and I think he picked that up from somebody like Hashim. He absolutely loved Hashim, and I know when we toured New Zealand a couple of times, he just wanted to pick Hashim's brain on how he batted. And Hashim's another guy who loves to score a lot of runs down a third man. And you see these days, Kane, he's just so good at it in test matches. Duncan Fletcher was a big man of it. He said there's a lot of runs to be scored down a third man. There's never a third man. And Kane Williamson is just a master of it. He hits the ball so late, scores a lot of runs down there.
A lot of people can also learn from the great Dale Steyn as to how to bowl to these great batsmen. They're great batsmen, but you've still got to get them out. So you've got an over of Virat Kohli. He's just come into bat. You've got the whole over, and let's assume he's not going to get a single and get off strike. What would your exact plan be? Somebody like a Virat Kohli with the kind of style that he has, the quick front womovement and the inclination and keenness to drive to the covers.
I think you've got to play the mind game with Virat too. I would certainly look at putting in somebody as a short leg. I would let him know that I'm going to come at him. I'm going to come at his body. I want to come quickly at him, and I want him to try and pull. Because I feel like that's his B game. I feel like even though he does it really well, I feel like I want him to think that that's where I'm going to bowl, and then get it up there. Get it up there, because I like to swing the ball, I like to move the ball, and I look for those 3 modes of dismissal: the LBW, the bowled, and the caught behind. Because we know every batter, his first 20 balls, his feet's not moving as well as he'd like to. His eyes haven't adjusted, and he hasn't adapted to the wicket just yet. So I want him to think that I'm going to go short. But I'd probably bowl 6 full balls to him, to be honest with you. I'm probably just going to go right up there and try and nick him off every single ball. But I'll be telling him every time I bowl, it's coming. I'm going to hit you in the head. I'm not going to swear at him, but I'm going to let him know that short leg is in business. And then probably just bowl 6 full balls to him, and hopefully he doesn't hit me through the covers. But if he does go for it, that's where I feel like I stand a big chance. But Williamson, on the other hand, if I had 6 balls to Williamson, he's the kind of guy that I would then be on the opposite side of Kohli. I would go shorter at him. And then because he's so headstrong, he'd probably know that I'm coming fuller, but I would maintain the shorter kind of stuff. Just so that if he does go forward, he might glove it, he might get caught at short leg. I remember hitting him once in Port Elizabeth. He came in early, I bowled him a bouncer, 1 or 2 bouncers. I hit him, maintained it shorter outside off, and he nicked it and got caught at slip. I could see immediately as he played the shot, when he turned around, he waved his bat like this, and he just knew he had a mental fault right there. There was one that he could have left, but just thinking I was going to hit him again or something like that. But now maybe it would be a different story now. I reckon now he would just leave it. I'd get so frustrated with bowling to him right now.
Yeah. Given a choice between Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli, and you want that one wicket as early as possible, which is the batsman you would pick?
Oh, goodness. No, that's a tough one.
Sorry. No, you can say both or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's near impossible. I think Williamson is the kind of guy that will just bat for days. He just bats all day long, and he will accumulate runs as he goes on. Virat, on the other hand, he scores runs a lot quicker. He can bat for half the amount of time that Kane's batting and score double the amount of runs that Kane scores. So, depending on the conditions, that's how I would kind of pick who I'd want out quicker. But I suppose I'd probably want somebody like Virat out. I just think he scores runs a lot quicker. He puts every bowler under pressure, whereas somebody like Kane Williamson, he takes the pressure and he just holds it, and before you know it, he's created partnerships with his partner, and that's how he goes along building a great New Zealand innings as well as his own personal innings. But Virat, on the other hand, he can give every bowler a bit of a nightmare, and that's where you can bowl your 2 or 3 bad balls in an over, when you're not used to doing that kind of stuff. So picking the batter that I'd probably like to get out sooner would probably be Kohli.
Another thing that I've got to ask you now, these are, great batsmen. So this is plan A. It sometimes works for you. You get them out early, and, that becomes a big sort of decisive factor in the game. Both batsmen set. Virat Kohli set, batting on 60, 70, and Kane Williamson. So tell us now, how does Dale Steyn operate now against a set Virat Kohli and a Kane Williamson?
My go-to was always come around the wicket. I had a short kind of not temper. It looked like it at most of the times, but I get frustrated pretty quickly. I felt like I didn't have skills. I want quick results. I want to get these guys out. I want a good strike rate. I don't want to mess around. Let's get these guys out. In 12 to 18 balls, if they're not nicking it, I'm coming around the wicket and I'm going to try and find a different mode of dismissal, something that he hasn't exactly prepared for. And I know that they prepare for the short ball really well. In scoring, but do the guys prepare to get out of the way of it, and try and sway it and everything like that. So I'd get a leg slip in there. I might even get a third man in case somebody like Williamson, who likes to ramp, and he's in now, so he might want to play that shot. And then I'm coming around and I'm really saying to them, guys, if you want to score any runs, you're going to have to score it off the back foot, and you're going to have to score it with a not the straight bat. You're going to have to score it like this, and give that a go, and then just hope that my partner on the other side ends up getting him out, Vernon or Mornay or whoever it is. But for me, then it's all about, I'm going to try and break a hand, or I'm going to try and do something that's going to just alter the mental state of the batter so that he can make a mistake somewhere else, maybe to my partner who's bowling from the other side, or when I come back over the wicket and try and nick him off, he might make a silly mistake due to that little investment session of short pitch bowling.
Yeah, just listening to this chat, I can just see in New Zealand thinking, okay, Neil Wagner must play. We're just thinking about him, whether we should play him or not. But said batsman Virat Kohli, that's something you could try. Just a final question, because this particular match is happening in England. Is there something Dale Steyn did differently in England? Because South African pitches, Australian pitches, pace and bounce, not too much of tennis ball kind of bounce. The ball swings in the air, the overhead conditions that keep changing. So what did you do differently in England, and something that you focused on? Once you were in England, top class batsman at the opposite end, what did you focus on?
I wished I had spent more time in England before I played. I actually don't have a great record playing for South Africa against England, or even in England, actually. Okay. I've got an okay record, but it's not one that I'm particularly proud of. But I know that when I spent more time playing for Glamorgan, and certainly when I played for Hampshire, spending some time with Kyle Abbott, I started bowling a lot more with my fingers almost across the seam. Not fully across the seam, but at a kind of like an angle in. Letting the ball do more torque off the pitch. I'm predominantly somebody who held the ball seam up and looked to swing the ball and nip the ball. And I found that often at times the batter would be missing it by this much. And it looks good. I'd be like up in arms. Oh, that looks amazing. But it meant nothing, The batter's just standing there smiling, playing the ball very late. Alistair Cook, these guys, they bat really deep into their crease. And they play it really late, and by the time it gets to them, it's just swung too much. So when I spent some more time with Kyle Abbott, who's bowled beautifully in England, we started holding the ball a little bit more across the seam, not completely, but a little bit more, and having that wobble seam like that. And just, especially in Hampshire, it would hit the deck, and neither of us kind of knew which way it was going to go. It would nip away or it would nip in, and I just found that was way more productive for me. I just started to get a lot more wickets, and my last couple of games for Hampshire, when I did that, I just kind of wished I'd done that more in my career when I played in England. It just worked so much better. So if I could give any advice to anybody that's going to be bowling there, spend some time in the nets, try it, see if it works. It worked for me, it works for somebody like Kyle Abbott. it's worth a shot. But then on the other hand, you got Jimmy Anderson, who holds it down the seam, and he's the best fast bowler to come out of England ever. So yeah.
Wonderful. And you're just brilliant listening to you. And Dale, thanks for sharing all this with us. I'm going to ask you a typical fan question in the end to finish our chat here is who's going to outscore Kane Williamson or Virat Kohli each other in this one test match?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I'm gonna go with Kane. I think Kane has just spent a little bit more time in England right now. I think he bats really well in those conditions. He's the kind of guy that will bat really deep in his crease. He'll let the ball come to him, and he'll score runs like that. I think on the other hand, Virat he is a great player, and I worry that this occasion might be too much for him, and he might want to be too much to win it, and you know what England's like. If you're going at the ball a lot, that's when you get yourself into trouble. Those slips come into play, and if he plays in that kind of fashion, it might just play perfectly into New Zealand's hands. So he's a good player. I know he'll adapt, but if he does go that route, he's not gonna outscore somebody like Kane. So I'm gonna go with Kane.
Thank you so much, Dale, and thanks for this chat. It's been a unique honor talking to Dale Steyn as to how he would go about bowling to Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli, two modern-day greats. And this is what the game is all about. It's a team sport, but made up of some exceptional individuals. So thank you very much, Dale, for your time and your thoughts.
Pleasure.